If anyone finds out about this weekend, we're all dead. Marilyn's career, Elvis's marriage plans, my casino, everything burns. Frank Sinatra stood in the private suite of the Cal Naval Lodge, looking at the two most famous people in America who just spent 3 days together in secret. June 15, 1960, Elvis Presley, supposedly filming GI Blues in Los Angeles, and Marilyn Monroe, supposedly sick with flu on the Misfits set, had vanished from their obligations to meet at Sinatra's casino on the California-Nevada border. What happened during those 72 hours was photographed, documented, and then systematically destroyed when Joe DiMaggio paid $100,000 to erase all evidence. But what nobody knew until photographer Billy Woodfield's 2009 deathbed confession was that he'd kept one roll of film hidden for 49 years. The photos showed Elvis and Marilyn not just as lovers, but as two broken souls who found in each other the only person who understood the prison of fame. The weekend that officially never happened changed both of them forever. Marilyn would be dead in 2 years. Elvis would never be the same. And the photos that could have changed Hollywood history remained hidden in a bank vault, waiting for everyone involved to die before the truth could surface. June 12, 1960. 2 phone calls, 2 lies, 1 secret plan. Elvis called the GI Blues director. "I've got a fever, need 3 days to recover." He wasn't sick, he was desperate. Marilyn called John Huston on the Misfits set. "I can't work, the pills aren't helping, I need time." She wasn't having a breakdown, she was escaping. Both calls were arranged by the same man, Frank Sinatra. The chairman of the board had orchestrated what would become Hollywood's best-kept secret, a weekend that brought together the king and the goddess. But why would Sinatra risk everything to arrange this meeting? The answer lay in a conversation 3 weeks earlier. Sinatra's copper room at the Sands. Elvis had just finished his post-army comeback show. Marilyn was in the audience fighting with Arthur Miller, her marriage dissolving in public. After the show, in Sinatra's private booth, Elvis and Marilyn met for the second time in their lives. "You look tired," Elvis said to Marilyn. "You look trapped," Marilyn responded. They recognized something in each other, the exhaustion that came from being inventory rather than human, the loneliness that came from being desired by millions but known by none. Sinatra watched them talk until 6 a.m. Two icons realizing they were the only people who could understand each other's specific hell. When they finally parted, both looked more alive than they had in years. "Frank," Elvis said, "I need to see her again, away from all this." "Frank," Marilyn said the same night, "he understands, nobody else understands, but he does." Sinatra, who collected broken birds and fixed them, made a decision. He'd give them a weekend, secret, safe, sacred. The Cal Naval Lodge was perfect. Sinatra owned it, though his name wasn't on the papers. Mob connections made that complicated. The casino straddled the California-Nevada border. The state line ran right through the swimming pool. You could break the law in Nevada and escape to California by swimming 8 feet. More importantly, Sinatra controlled everything. The staff, the security, the phone lines. If he wanted something to not happen, it didn't happen. If he wanted someone to disappear, they disappeared. June 13, 1960. The arrivals. Elvis drove himself. No Memphis Mafia, no entourage. A rented Chevrolet instead of a Cadillac. Sunglasses and a baseball cap. He looked like any other tourist heading to Tahoe for gambling. Marilyn flew in on Sinatra's private plane, landed at a private airstrip. No makeup, blonde wig over her real brunette hair. She looked like a secretary on vacation. They arrived 2 hours apart, checked in under false names. Elvis was John Burroughs. Marilyn was Zelda Zonk, the name she used when she wanted to disappear. Sinatra had prepared the Crown Room, his private suite that he used for people who needed to not exist for a while. Soundproof, no windows facing public areas. Private entrance. 2 bedrooms, though only one would be used. 3 p.m. The reunion. When Elvis walked into the suite, Marilyn was on the balcony overlooking Lake Tahoe. No makeup, no pose, just Norma Jean looking at water. "I didn't think you'd come," she said without turning around. "I didn't think you'd want me to," Elvis replied. She turned. They stood there, the two most desired people in America, terrified of being rejected by each other. Then Marilyn laughed. "Look at us, 2 idiots who don't know how to be normal." The ice broke. Elvis laughed too. They were just 2 damaged people in a casino, pretending to be nobody, which was all they'd ever wanted to be. What happened next was witnessed only by Sinatra's most trusted man, Jilly Rizzo. They didn't tear each other's clothes off, Jilly would later tell his son. They talked. For 9 hours straight they just talked, like 2 people who'd been holding their breath for years, and could finally exhale. They talked about everything. The loneliness of being watched constantly. The pills both were already dependent. The studios that owned them. The managers who controlled them. The public that loved images, not people. The fear that they were disappearing inside their own fame. At midnight, they finally kissed. But it wasn't passionate, it was desperate. Like two drowning people trying to breathe through each other. June 14th, 1960, Day 2. The photographs. Sinatra had hired Billy Woodfield, his personal photographer, to document the weekend. Not for publicity, for proof. Sinatra collected proof of everything. Protection, insurance, power. But the photos Woodfield took weren't what anyone expected. Elvis and Marilyn at 7 a.m., having coffee on the balcony. No glamour. Marilyn's face puffy from crying. Elvis's eyes red from pills or tears or both. They looked like refugees from their own lives. Elvis teaching Marilyn guitar, her fingers on the strings, his hands guiding hers, the concentration on her face, the gentleness on his. Two performers not performing. Marilyn cutting Elvis's hair. He'd asked her to. "Nobody's touched my hair without being paid to in 5 years," he'd said. She trimmed it badly, laughing. He didn't care. The swimming pool photo, the one that would cause everything to unravel. Elvis and Marilyn in the pool that straddled the state line, playing like children. Her on his shoulders, both laughing so hard they couldn't breathe. They looked free, they looked happy, they looked like people, not icons. But someone else saw that photo being taken. Joe DiMaggio was having Marilyn followed, still obsessed 2 years after their divorce. His private investigator had tracked her to Cal Neva. When he reported who she was with, DiMaggio drove up himself. June 14th, 8 p.m. DiMaggio arrives. He didn't confront them, that wasn't his style. He went to Sinatra. How much to make this disappear? Sinatra, who feared no one, actually hesitated. DiMaggio wasn't mob, but he had mob connections. More importantly, he was insane when it came to Marilyn. "It's not about money, Joe. They're just talking. I saw the photos. They're doing more than talking. What do you want? Every photo, every negative, every witness silent, or I release Elvis's army records, the ones about the underage girl in Germany, and Marilyn's abortion records from 1959. DiMaggio had done his homework. He had dirt on everyone. Sinatra made a calculation. The weekend was almost over anyway. 100 grand. Cash. All photos destroyed. DiMaggio agreed. June 14th, 11 p.m. The last night. Elvis and Marilyn knew it was ending. Reality was seeping back in. Tomorrow, Elvis would return to GI Blues and his controlled life. Marilyn would return to the Misfits and her dissolving marriage. They spent the last night talking about escape. "We could run," Marilyn said. "Just disappear. Mexico, Europe, anywhere." "They'd find us," Elvis said. "They always find us. Then we hide in plain sight. You divorce Priscilla, I divorce Arthur. We marry each other. Two icons becoming one. They can't control us if we're together." Elvis wanted to believe it, but he knew better. Your studio would destroy you. My manager would destroy me. We're worth more apart than together. "Then what's the point?" Marilyn asked. "Why keep living like this?" Elvis didn't have an answer. Neither did she. They held each other in silence, two prisoners comparing life sentences. June 15th, 1960. The separation. Sinatra came to the suite at 9 a.m. "It's over. Joe knows. You need to leave. Separately. Now." The goodbye was brutal in its simplicity. "Will I see you again?" Marilyn asked. "Not like this," Elvis said. "Never like this." They were right. They'd meet again publicly, at parties, premieres, award shows, but always watched, always performing. Never alone, never free. Elvis left first, drove back to LA in silence, returned to GI Blues, and told everyone his fever had broken. Marilyn left 2 hours later, flew back to Reno and the Misfits set, told everyone she felt better. Nobody suspected anything. The weekend was erased. Except for the photos. Billy Woodfield was supposed to destroy everything. He burned the negatives in front of DiMaggio, took the $100,000, and promised silence. But he'd kept one roll, hidden it before the burning. The roll with the swimming pool photos, the ones where Elvis and Marilyn looked human. "I couldn't destroy them," Woodfield confessed in 2009. "They were the only photos I ever took where both of them looked happy. Really happy, not performing happy, just happy." The aftermath was invisible but profound. Elvis never talked about the weekend, but those close to him noticed changes. He became obsessed with Marilyn's movies, had a print of Some Like It Hot, that he watched repeatedly. When she died in 1962, Elvis locked himself in Graceland for a week. Red West found him watching her movies. She knew, Elvis said. She knew how it would end. We talked about it at Tahoe. She said she'd be dead by 35. She was right. Priscilla would later say, there was something about Marilyn Monroe that haunted Elvis. Not sexual, deeper, like she was a ghost he'd met while she was still alive. Marilyn's changes were more obvious. She talked about Elvis to anyone who'd listen, not romantically, but philosophically. Elvis understands the cage, she told her psychiatrist. We're both canaries, pretty songs until we die. She sent him one letter after the weekend. It was returned unopened. Colonel Parker intercepted all of Elvis's mail. It was found in Parker's belongings after his death. H.O., 3 days of being nobody with you was worth a lifetime of being somebody without you. Your fellow prisoner. Malik, August 5, 1962. Marilyn died. Elvis was performing in Vegas. Mid-song, someone whispered the news in his ear. He finished the song, walked off stage, and didn't perform for 3 days. He sent a single white rose to her funeral with no card. Joe DiMaggio, who controlled the funeral, threw it away. But Elvis kept a photo of Marilyn in his wallet until he died. Not a glamour shot, a Polaroid from Cal Neva, her laughing, no makeup, hair messy, looking at something off camera, him. When Elvis died in 1977, the photo was found in his bathroom. He'd been looking at it. The hidden roll of film surfaced in 2009. After Woodfield's death, his son found the safety deposit box. 36 exposures of Elvis and Marilyn at Cal Neva. The photos were everything DiMaggio feared. Proof that two icons had found each other, however briefly. But more than that, they were proof of what fame cost. In every photo you could see it, the exhaustion, the desperation, the need to be seen as human rather than myth. The photos were sold to a private collector for $4.5 million. They've never been published. The collector said, they're too private, too intimate, not sexually, spiritually. They show two people who forgot they were Elvis and Marilyn and remembered they were humans. The world doesn't deserve to see that. Sinatra never talked about the weekend until 1998, just before his death. I gave them 72 hours of freedom. Cost me $100,000 and nearly got me killed by DiMaggio. Worth every penny and every threat. You didn't see them that weekend. I did. For 3 days they weren't Elvis and Marilyn. They were just two kids in love with the idea of being normal. The Cal Neva Lodge burned down in 1962, 2 weeks after Marilyn's death. The cause was never determined. The crown room where Elvis and Marilyn stayed was completely destroyed. Coincidence or cover-up? The FBI file remains sealed. But the truth is simpler and sadder than any conspiracy. For 72 hours in June 1960, the king of rock and roll and the goddess of Hollywood disappeared from their lives and found each other. They didn't find love. They found understanding. They didn't have sex. They had connection. They didn't escape fame. They shared its burden. 3 days. That's all they got. 3 days of being nobody in a casino on the California-Nevada border. 3 days of swimming in a pool where you could break the law by moving 8 feet. 3 days of believing escape was possible. Marilyn was dead within 2 years. Elvis was spiritually dead within 5, physically dead within 17. The weekend officially never happened. The photos were supposedly destroyed. The witnesses were paid for silence. But somewhere in a vault, 36 photographs wait. Evidence that for 72 hours, two of the most famous people who ever lived got to be infamous, got to be unknown, got to be human. The real tragedy isn't that it ended. It's that it could only last 3 days.